Welcome to the 2020 WhistleStop Winter Haven Virtual Hobnob. Welcome. My name is Katie Worthington Decker, and I am the President and CEO of the Greater Winter Haven Chamber of Commerce, and it is my privilege to be your MC for this video series. WhistleStop Winter Haven is traditionally an in-person event where members of the public can come together to shake hands and get to know the candidates that are on the ballot through one-on-one conversations. But as we all know, 2020 is a year to adapt, so we have pivoted this event to an online series of Zoom interviews. We certainly hope you take the time to listen to each of the candidates and learn a little bit more about them and what they stand for and while they're running. We have invited every candidate on the ballot in Polk County to participate, and we want to thank those candidates who did decide to do it. Full disclosure, the Winter Haven Chamber does not endorse any individual candidates, but we do believe in an informed electorate. So we hope that you find these videos useful as you are getting ready to fill out your ballot. I'd like to take a moment to thank our sponsors for this video series. Our presenting sponsor is Citizens Bank and Trust. Our Meet the Candidates sponsor is Spectrum. Our additional sponsors include Citrus Connection, the Hemingway Group Realtors with Crosby & Associates, John Wood Realty, and the campaign of Sam Killebrew, District 41. As I mentioned, there are two important dates for you to remember coming up in this election. On August 18th is the primary. And while there are the traditional Democrat and Republican primary races, there are also some very important local races that will be decided during that election. These include school board, county commission, supervisor of election, and the Lake Region Lakes Management District. And of course, the second date to remember is the general election that will be held nationally on November 3rd. We hope that you will find this video series useful, and please encourage your family and friends that are eligible to vote to do so. It is our greatest right as American citizens. Enjoy. Well, Bill, thank you for participating in our 2020 virtual WhistleStop political hobnob. Because you have purchased this virtual booth with us, it gives us the opportunity to really educate the public on the candidates running for office and the issues that will be on the ballot. And since your campaign has purchased this virtual booth, the Florida Division of Elections does require you to make the following statement.
Yeah, this was paid for by Bill Braswell, Republican candidate for Polk County Commission District 3.
Very good. Well, now that we got that out of the way, we'll get to the good stuff. So tell our viewers a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Born and raised here in Polk County, grew up in Bartow, graduated at the high school class of 75, went to the University of Florida, got a degree in agronomy, which is essentially plant science. Promptly used that degree by becoming a pilot in the Air Force. I was active duty pilot for 7 years. About the time I got off active duty, Desert Shield kicked off, and I went back in the Air Force Reserves. I stayed there for another 14 years, flying C-5s in the reserves. During all that time, I went to work for Delta Airlines. I flew for Delta for 20 years and retired from there. And also during all that time, I got married to Kathy, who I've been married to for about 30 years, just under 30 years. I've got a stepson, Tyson. He manages our farm and our farm businesses. His wife's Caitlin, and I've got a granddaughter, Cammie. And if you're on Facebook, you've seen her picture on my posts many times. And we now have another granddaughter due on election day. So no matter what happens, on election day,
It's right. It's going to be a good day all around.
It'll be awesome. It'll be awesome.
So you are completing your first term on the Board of County Commissioners.
Yes.
What would you say you are most proud of accomplishing during that first term?
You know, I got to tell you, once you get into this job, you find out how Polk County has its act together, and it really does. And there's a lot of accomplishments that the board has accomplished in the last 4 years. But I would say recently, the CARES Act funding that we got, you know, I'm really pleased with how we handled that, the way we distributed it. I mean, we basically put $50 million in the citizens' hands. And if you don't know the story, you know, we get notified we've got $126 million being deposited into an account, and we were supposed to spend it. Well, you look at the surrounding counties, a lot of them, they spend it on balancing their budget, buying stuff for the county. We said, no, it's going to go straight to the citizens, and that's what we've done. We've helped out thousands of small businesses, thousands of individuals, and right now we're at right around 50 million. We've spent 12 million on testing for COVID. We've sent 9 million to the school board to help them out because they're hurting for sure right now. And the rest of it, we've got back in reserve to see how much more we can distribute to the citizens. And I'm real pleased with how it's all come out.
Oh, absolutely. And I don't know any business that we weren't telling to apply for that. You need to get in, you need to apply. And I had heard on a conference call, the statewide conference call this week, that other counties have really looked to Polk County as their model on how to do it. So I certainly agree with you.
It's been hard to give away. That's the crazy thing, you know. Small businesses are like, well, you know, we're doing okay. And I'm like, no. We need the money in the economy. That's what it's about. It's about the movement of money, the velocity of money within our economy. And I don't know how much it's helped, but it certainly hasn't hurt.
Well, I can tell you it has helped many organizations because we have taken probably around 400 phone calls from either individuals or small businesses that have taken advantage of it. And, you know, even if it helped one payroll period, that's one payroll period you didn't have to worry.
Exactly.
So it makes a big difference. So obviously we're in this kind of strange for us, strange environment of COVID. And so, you know, my next question is certainly colored a little bit like that, but what do you believe the top priorities should be for the county commission over the next year?
Well, first of all, I don't want to change priorities. Our priority has been, and if I'm reelected, it will stay, public safety. And that's a big subject, you know, but you know, our fire EMS department was woefully falling behind. When the last recession hit, you know, they just fell further behind. Our sheriff, he's kept up, but you know, we've done everything we can to get more money into the public safety department. I'll give you an example. When I got here, we had EMS people who lived in a pop-up camper in a campground with the ambulance sitting outside. And that's a little demoralizing to say the least, but you know, you're not getting the most prepared people showing up at the accident scene when you need them. We don't have that anymore. We're in the process of building 8 new fire EMS stations, which is going to help out a lot. So that, you know, that's been our number one priority. You know, COVID obviously has become a priority. Testing is a priority. Like I said before, we spent $12 million. You know, and the problem with the testing right now, you know, it's not a matter of there aren't enough tests. It's not a matter of anything other than there's not enough people to administer the test. They're burnt out, they're tired, they're working 7 days a week. They got to have some time off. So the testing is probably about as fast as it's going to get, but that's certainly a priority for us. And to get through this COVID thing, I mean, that's going to be a fluid situation. The priorities change on that all the time. And we're just taking that day by day.
So Polk County is one of the fastest growing, really counties in the country. The Lakeland Winter Haven MSA is routinely ranked. Yeah. And I hear a traffic joke coming, but but what, you know, obviously prior to this crisis, the growth of the county was a big issue that not just the county commission, but people in roles like mine, the chamber, the DOT, all of that, to talk about collaboration on how we handle the growth of that area. In your perspective, how can the county government contribute to handling the kind of rapid growth of Central Florida?
Well, you know, I mean, it's coming. We have to accept that. People want to live here. You know, I didn't know this until just recently, but the #1 destination for people moving was Texas up until just recently. And now it's shifted to Florida. We were #2, I guess close behind, but, and you're right, they're all, Central Florida is a hot spot. The homes are less expensive. The land is less expensive. It's not so crowded. You know, what we have to do as commissioners is look at it as, you know, quality of life. How will this affect the quality of life of the people living here already, the people who are already been paying the taxes, who already built the roads, who did all that. But at the same time, you know, we have to accept that, like I said before, we're coming. And we're always in between this. We're growing too fast. Why can't you stop it? But I got to tell you, I look at it this way: with an ag background, and a lot of my friends are citrus growers. You know, those families have been in this community for 100 years, up to 100 years. They've had citrus groves that long. They've hired tens of thousands of people. They've made this county back in the day. Those people are now hurting, but they own land and have got lots of land. And here they have an opportunity to cash in. How do you tell a guy whose family was the backbone of this county for decades, no, you can't, we're not gonna let you sell that to developers, you know? You can't do that. So it's a real balancing act. But you know, the county has urban designated growth areas, and that's been a challenge, trying to get the builders, hey, this is where we want you to go. We want you to go to this section of the county. We've got the infrastructure, we've got better roads there. Please build here. And if when they do that, you know, it works out, but it's always going to be a tough challenge. It really is.
Well, and I think a lot of people that may not be like me, that tunes in and watches your meetings all the time, you know, they think that a lot of what you deal with is the stuff that makes, we don't have lives. But they tune in, if they do happen to tune in, if there's, you know, a case that's on, or you're doing something more controversial, in the eyes of the general public. But what they don't realize is the vast majority of what you're doing in the commission seat has to do with budget and has to do with land use. I mean, those are kind of the two worlds
they are.
You live in. Yeah. And so
land use is, you know, it's a lose-lose situation. And you have to do what's right for the county and go forward. That's all you can do.
Right. Well, and Polk County, I sit on the MCORS committee, and we've been looking at the land use maps for about 9 different counties. Yeah. And Polk County certainly has one of the more sophisticated in terms of the land use, and really trying to be intentional on where things develop in certain areas. But it's always malleable. It's always up for, you know, what's best in the current context and going forward. So, well,
and you know, the planners looked 20 years ago ahead 20 years, and they said, this is where we want it. And sometimes that's not where it happens, you know. And it has to be fluid. It has to be able to be changed. People aren't going to necessarily live where you want them to live. Sometimes they want to live somewhere else. So you got to be able to work with it.
Yeah, no one says, I have a great idea, let me go look at the land map, the land ordinances that were passed 20 years ago, and see if I fit in with what they were predicting. So
we had one yesterday. It would have been nice if they had just looked at where the city limits was, you know. That, you know, it's a big county, a lot of 17 different municipalities inside this county, and it makes it real difficult, but you know, we'll get through it. We always do.
Yeah, well, and we get a lot of calls at the chamber, and we always ask, are you in the city and the county? Because that can sometimes change what the response might be. And 9 times out of 10, it's, I don't know. So we have to say, go to your garage, look at your trash can, let me know what it says, what color is it? And that's how we can tell you.
That's a great method. I like it.
Yeah. So final question. So you do have an opponent in this race, obviously. And so if you were having a one-on-one conversation with a voter and they said, why should I vote for you over the other candidate, what would you say?
Well, I mean, you know, this election, I've got the absolute polar opposite of me running against me. I mean, we are entirely different people. I'm a conservative Republican. He's a liberal Democrat. My ideas are public safety and, you know, growth management and that sort of stuff. I'm not really sure where he is on that. But, you know, what I've heard is, you know, he wants to slow growth down or stop growth. And, you know, these are things that just aren't even realistic ideas. You know, my goal is and always has been to keep quality of life where we need it, where we want it in Polk County. That should be the focus. And between the fact that we're opposite on the political spectrum, you know, it's kind of an easy decision this year, I think. I mean, you're either for or against. You know, it's no in between, and that's the way it is between the two of us.
Well, Bill, I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule. Both, you know, a lot of people don't realize being a county commissioner is not your day job. You have an actual job as well.
Yeah, and, you know,
And so we,
it's kind of you know, the difference again between my opponent and I. You know, I'm a businessman. I have been for a long time, and yeah, I've got a job. He's a retired government employee, and that's, you know, that changes your perspective on things.
well, and for that reason, we want to certainly thank you for taking the time to speak with me today and to allow the voters in Polk County to learn a little bit more about you. I even learned a little bit more about you today. So I didn't know you were a pilot. So that was very great to learn about you today. And you know, I can imagine talking to you about the aviation industry in this county in the future. So. So I want to thank you so much again, and appreciate and good luck in the race.
All right, thank you. Appreciate your time.